This week we talk about dealing with mobility issues. Good morning and welcome to the Chronic Pain Call-In Show, the only show about chronic pain where you can call in live. I'm your host, Josephofborg. I'm here every Sunday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific Time. I look forward to talking to you. Hey, no sound. That should do the trick. We should have some sound now. Thanks for the heads up. We will start once more with thanks for joining me this morning, and thank you, Carol, for letting me know there was no sound. I hope you could hear the intro. That said, today's topic is going to be mobility issues, and when I started getting ready to do this topic, I realized it doesn't just start with walkers and wheelchairs and things like that. But before I brush on the topic, I do want to comment. As you can see, I got a little bit different wardrobe today. It's provided by my wife through her eBay store. If you're looking for a hookup on big and tall men's shirts, renasresales.com. She pays for my internet, lets me use her business computer, and basically completely supports the show. So if you want to support the show, best thing you can do, easiest way to go about that, check out Renas Resale, see if there's something you want. And with that, that's it. Don't want to spam you guys, but I figured the least I can do for her is give her a plug once in a while on my show. So, mobility issues, really, here's what brought this to mind, is I'm getting to the point where I am considering some assistance with my mobility. And I'm kind of in a gray area right now. Because I can still navigate around the house. I go to a church group once a week, or try to if I'm able, and I can walk into the place and navigate around the house. I'm constantly leaning on stuff. I can touch stuff for my balance. In a small venue like that, I can still get through the grocery store because I cheat, as I say it. I always use a cart, even if I'm getting just one or two things, because I basically use the cart as a walker. Also, a trick that I use is I will stop and look at an item on the shelf that I have no interest in, because rather than just stand in the middle of the aisle and wait for my pain to come down and for me to be able to continue on, I just feel really conspicuous. I try to do my best to not give a damn what people think and just go about my life. And I tried to be that way even before I got sick. But, my wife once in a while, she'll be like, "What are you looking at that for?" So, because I need time for my back to calm down. So I can still do little things like that. But if it comes, I live in Las Vegas, for those of you who don't know. If I want to go to a festival or a show or a casino, especially the ones on the strip that are so spread out, it becomes very difficult for me to walk any real distance. I know it makes my wife impatient, and I don't blame her, because it makes me impatient also when I have to constantly be stopping. So I'm debating getting a wheelchair or a scooter or something like that for when I want to travel distances. And I'll get back to that in a little bit, and how I'm kind of weighing those two options. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that your mobility issues really don't just begin with when you have trouble walking. And this has been a real struggle for me to come to terms with, in part because I was in the car business. I was in the body shop business as an employee. I owned a car lot. I've always been into cars. I always loved driving and road trips. And at some point, I was no longer able to just get in the car and go wherever I wanted to go for however long I wanted to drive. And I really think for a lot of us, although we don't think about it in this manner, that's really when your mobility issues begin, when you have to start thinking about getting in the car and driving, how far it's going to be, how much traffic there's going to be. I have cervical issues. My whole spine's a mess, but with my cervical issues, if I'm going to be looking around a lot because there's a ton of traffic, rush hour, it's much more fatiguing and drives my pain level up. The vibration of riding or driving in the car uh, is a problem for me. So, how long I can be in the car, how far I can drive, how long it's going to take, how demanding the driving is going to be began to all be factors I had to consider. Also, because of my stamina or my pain endurance, I can only take so much for so long, even with my implant, with my other spinal issues that it doesn't cover. It was put in for my lumbar issues. It does a great job, but my cervical issues, not so much. That's a whole different show and conversation. Pardon me. But if I'm going to go somewhere and be there 3 or 4 hours, am I going to be able to drive home? If you've ever been pain drunk, or I know a lot of people who have fibromyalgia refer to it as fibro fog. You know, I've had one time where I actually got very close to calling my wife, telling her, "Look, you need to take an Uber and come where I am so that you can drive me home because I just don't have enough to uh, get there." I don't have enough to oomph, if you will, for lack of a better term, to get home. So it was embarrassing and a difficult thing to have to adjust to, but I have to consider how far I'm driving, when I'm driving, what the traffic will be like when I come back, how long I can stay somewhere. And it's just another one of those intrusive ways that chronic pain really does cut into your life. Hey, I just realized I don't have the call in banner up. If you do want to call in live today and talk to me, the phone line should be up and working. It's 725-333-4140, and you can talk to me live. Um, but yeah, so as my condition got worse, my world began to shrink, which is one of the reasons why I started making videos so I could reach out through this digital format, because isolation, as I always talk about, breeds depression, and most of us are isolated from our illness, can't get out as much as we would like, if at all. Depression can lead you to bad places, can make people suicidal, etc. I've talked about that on previous shows, so we'll just leave that there. But as my world shrunk, I decided to try and reach out digitally and make these videos, communicate with people, network with people. Um, so then, as I began to take meds for my pain, and let's be real clear, this can be a really touchy subject. It's a very personal subject, okay? Not just pain medication. Let me rephrase that. Pain medications are not the only medications that can carry a warning about driving, operating machinery, or whatnot, a lot of head meds. And before anybody wants to blast about, oh, that's a rude term, look, if you got a heart condition, you take heart meds. I've got spinal conditions, I take spine meds, or pain meds. If you have a chemical imbalance or whatever, and you need help with that, it's head meds. I mean no offense by using that term. It's just a simple blanket term for, but good morning, Wanda. Thanks for joining. But there's lots of different medications that you probably should really be cautious about driving on, especially until you know how they affect you. Um, Pain meds included. I'm very fortunate. I don't take pain meds every day, but when I do take them, I don't drive. Now, this is something that's really personal for everybody. People have very different opinions about it, state to state. The legalities of it and I guess the legal culpability about it can vary greatly. Here's the thing. For me personally and my decision, I do not drive when I'm on my pain meds, and here's why. Whether I would be legally liable or not, I do not care about that. If I were to have an accident, or here in Las Vegas, pedestrians literally are getting hit and injured or killed on a daily basis. Maybe it's all the free drinks, I don't know, but it happens here all the time. If I were to hit somebody, either a pedestrian or another vehicle, or be involved in an accident and injure somebody, whether or not I'm legally culpable, I would personally always wonder if I may have reacted a little quicker, or if I may have been able to avoid the accident if I had not been under the influence of my meds, no matter how mild that influence may be. Even with my pain level being really high, I honestly don't think I'm as attentive behind the wheel as I think I ought to be when my pain is high. So I've gotten to the point I only drive with no meds in me, or let me rephrase, no pain meds, because I do take some blood pressure meds and whatnot. Um, and I only drive maybe a mile or two distance, and it's got to be someplace I know exactly where I'm going, coming back. Can't be real complicated because I just don't trust myself, because I do not want to be straddled with, or I guess I should say saddled with, the burden of wondering if I had been at my peak, if I could have avoided the accident. Um, I don't want to live with that guilt and that question, so that's why I don't drive. I'm very fortunate. My wife Rena, who I talk about all the time, she chooses to stay home and be my caregiver rather than work outside the home, uh, rather than her go out to work and have a stranger come in to help me with the things I need help with. So I have her available to drive me most of the time. I tease her when she doesn't feel like doing it that it's her job. So anyway, that's where it went with driving. You know, and like I said, once you drive somewhere, you get to the store. There's times where I know I'm not at my peak because I'll be at the store spending 10 minutes trying to decide if I want yellow corn taco shells or white corn taco shells. And they're, or something stupid like that. I will just be stupefied sometimes while I'm in a store shopping. So I know that I'm not always at my best, and I'm just not willing to take that. I'm just not willing to take that risk. I also am very, I guess phobic isn't the proper term, because it is a realistic fear that I'm going to get out somewhere, stay somewhere too long, and then I can't get home. And now I've just got a situation. Yes, my wife can Uber to come get me in the car and whatnot, but it's just a mess. It's just a thing that I don't want to deal with. Let me see, got a comment here. I do try and keep up with the comments, as well as if any of you want to call. Wanda doesn't drive at all. Oh, yeah, I can only imagine if you broke 5, 6, 7. I happen to be fused at 4, 5, 6, so maybe I can relate a little bit to that situation. Yeah, a car accident of that magnitude, I don't know that I'd be eager to get to behind the wheel. I have a friend from back when I used to work in Minnesota. She was in a ferocious car accident, suffered a traumatic brain injury. It literally changed who she was. Uh, Quite frankly and literally, and she's aware of it. And she could not drive with her friend who was in the passenger seat at the time of the accident in the car, because it was just too reminiscent of the horrific crash they were in. So let's see. So that kind of covers, it starts with driving and how far you're going to drive and when you're going to drive. And I think we don't think about mobility limitations or mobility issues as starting there. We tend to think about it as when we need a cane or a walker or a chair, or whatever. And really, it begins to affect your life long before that, in my opinion. Um, Now that I'm getting to the point that I'm considering some mobility assistance, I've really been struggling with this, and I'm going to tell you why, and I'm going to be honest. And again, I try to do my best to not give a damn. I look perfectly healthy. I look normal. Well, no, I don't look normal. I've never looked normal. I'm just not a normal kind of guy. But um, I don't look like I'm ill. I have people bash on me sometimes and verbally confront me because I use a handicap parking placard on days when I need it. I got to the point that I carry MRIs of my spine on my phone, and if they get too lippy with me, I go, I hear you, but let me show you something, and then I show it, and I often get apologies from them. So but there's a perception. Okay, I'm 6'2", 300 pounds. I'm a big guy. I have people tell me all the time, "Oh, you're not fat. You're just big." Whatever. I don't have a problem with being. Yes, I'm overweight. Okay. It is what it is. I don't have a problem with the term fat. It's a matter of how people use it. You can weaponize any type of word, but that's another conversation. Anybody who's raised a teenager knows that any word can be disrespectful. Fine with an eye roll could make you grit your teeth. So, but I digress. I don't use a scooter in the store, number one, because I still can manage the store, and I think it's important to get as much exercise as possible to use my muscles. I kind of have a use it or lose it mentality. Um, I do try and get out and exercise to the best of my ability. If that's something you think is interesting and think it's a topic I should address at some point, uh, type exercise down in the comments. Let me know if that's something that you guys really care about, what I want to do or what I do for exercise, what my regimen is like, if you will. In fact, any idea, before I continue, any ideas for show topics, what you want to know about, what you'd like to hear me discuss, you can leave it in the comments. You can obviously call the live line 725-333-4140. You can email me at Josephofborg, B-O-R-G, at gmail.com. You can leave a voicemail. I'm lazy. I haven't set up a voicemail greeting yet on there, but I check the calls on there a couple times a week. If you want to call and leave me a voicemail about a topic, because I want to do shows and talk about topics that you guys find interesting. So, all that said, I really just don't want to deal with the perception of people of, hey, here's a fat guy on a scooter. Okay, I know how people look at it because I'll admit it. I was an ass. I looked at it that way myself. Oh, look, they look fine. Especially people who are extremely obese. I would, before I was sick, and that's a topic I'm going to talk about, is things I have gained from my illness. Um, I got a guest that I'm going to try and get worked into this, and that's a topic I'm going to cover very soon. But there are things, when I look at it objectively, I've gained from my illness, and one of them is some empathy, that to just look at somebody who looks normal or pass judgment on somebody else, I've become much less judgmental since I got sick, if you will. Um, Let me check the chat here real quick. Yeah, Wanda, that's a topic I've got planned. Probably next week, I'm going to do uh, gratitude and forgiveness. I recently talked about when nothing works. I've talked about grieving your former self. It's a process, and for what it's worth, I know it doesn't improve your situation, but I understand it is hard to digest it all, and I try and make the analogy that, a lot of people feel guilty about it, and I tell them, would you feel guilty if you got cancer instead of some other chronic illness? Or, if you lost a limb in a car accident, God forbid, or an industrial accident or something, uh, would you feel bad, guilty, whatever about that? I gotta be honest, sometimes I wish something like that. Okay, careful what you wish for, right? There are times where I imagine it would be easier in some respects if something like that happened to us, because then it would be visible that we have a shortcoming and a challenge where, for most of us, our disabilities are invisible. Um, so I started thinking about getting out of the house more because I am limiting myself socially and whatnot. Especially, we're looking at moving from Las Vegas back to the Midwest, most likely southern Iowa. They have a lot of festivals, a lot of small town, come see the Corn Princess, whatever, Catfish Fry Festival, whatever's going on. I can't walk around those kinds of things. And if I get that close to Minnesota, I'd love to go back to the Renaissance Festival and the State Fair in Minnesota are two of the things other than people that I miss the most. And I can't walk those distances. It's just not practical. I also have to be honest with myself about even if I can do it, how much energy and pain currency, spoons to some of you, uh, is it going to cost me? How is it going to impact my enjoyment of the whole experience if I'm suffering and struggling just to walk and cover the distance? So I started thinking that it might be time for me to look into something like that. Now, at first, I was thinking, I think I want a wheelchair. I've had the handicap services help me at the airport. It was a great benefit. Yeah, those wheelchairs are really heavy, so I would get something much lighter and whatnot because the perception is different. If you're in a wheelchair, people assume you're sick. They assume something's wrong with you. Of course, then if you get up and walk 5 feet, they think you're a scammer. So, you just can't please the haters. I try and think of it like Cat Williams. He says haters are like playing cards. Or trading cards. You should try and collect them. If you got 3 people hating on you on Monday, your goal should be to have 5 hating on you by Friday, because that's what they do. And haters just hate people who are getting through life and actually doing something, because it's easier for them to hate on you than address their own issues. So, but talking to a few people really made me realize that a scooter type device will probably be a better option, even though there's that stigma, fat guy on a scooter, whatever. Screw the stigma. I need to worry about the quality of life and having the best quality of life I can. So I've been looking into scooters. I want to get something where I can go, on some grass and whatnot. Uh, I'm probably going to put off buying one until we move so that I don't have to ship it across country or haul it. We're going to use a pod to move, so space will be at a premium. But yeah, it was really difficult for me to accept the idea that it might be time for me to go to some type of mobility device to use a scooter or a wheelchair. And as much as I think I could, roll a wheelchair, and yes, you can add some aftermarket devices to help propel a manual wheelchair. I really think it's a matter of me swallowing my pride and my ego and looking seriously at a good quality scooter for a lot of reasons. One of which is the height, the range, the speed, the comfort. There's a reason the scooters are so popular. Also, people don't tend to leer at you so much. Somebody pointed out, if you get up and walk a few steps off your scooter versus if you get up out of your wheelchair and walk. That's just one of those assumptions that a lot of people make, that if you're in a wheelchair, you can't walk at all or your legs don't work at all. And obviously, that's not the case. So I should give a quick shout out to uh, I believe it's Wheels to Walking. He does some excellent videos, and he's the one that brought that up. Is that not everybody in a wheelchair is unable to walk at all. So I really didn't have anything else on that topic, but I think it's something, excuse me again, that most of us deal with at some point. If we're chronic pain patients, if we've got spinal issues, especially. Um, and I don't see any other comments, so I don't have a whole lot else to add. Um, Not seeing any questions. I don't want to just ramble on. I'm trying to deliver more information with less ramble. So, with that said, Joseph of Borg, I got nothing else to add to the topic, so I'm going to get out of here. I thank you as always for watching. I value your time, and I really appreciate that you would take the time to watch. So, with that, I'm going to get out of here. I wish you all a great day. Let me know what you want to hear about, and I'm out of here.